Hello, this is Pastor Roland. This is part 3 of my series of videos on the subject of trauma and the resolution of trauma. In the previous videos, I outlined how the whole human race became subject to trauma called original sin in the Garden of Eden. And the proof that the Garden of Eden story is true is because you see the same situations reenacted over and over again in our lives, in your life, in your parents' life, okay, in everyone's life. It's a story of ambition, of betrayal, of turning away from what you know in your heart is right and going for something that's exciting, something naughty, okay, and then suffering the consequences for it. And it's a story of a man and a woman, the temptation operating through the woman. It's not her fault, okay? It's not her fault, but it operated through her, and the man, instead of having a noble fatherly quality and saying, no, we mustn't eat of the fruit. In the case of the Garden of Eden, we mustn't eat of that fruit because Father said we shouldn't. Then everything would have been just fine. But he went for the temptation. Okay? So a lot of men marry their temptation. And then one day you can say, behold, your Eve. It's your Eve. And you're Adam. Okay? And then you see that you're failing. Once you're within the confines of marriage. See, before you get married, you really don't see your failure. You see your parents' marriage messed up, maybe. Their relationship messed up, or other people's. And you say, it'll never happen to me. Okay, I'm not going to make the same mistakes they made. But then lo and behold, okay, at some point when you're in the relationship or married, then all of a sudden, now you begin to see, if you're the man, that you're failing. You are failing. Somehow you're failing your wife. You're failing your kids. You don't even know how. You're doing the best you can. Perhaps you're providing for them. You come home at night. You stay home on weekends. You do things with them. But somehow you're failing. Now, some men will never find out why. They live and die and never find out the reason for their existence. They don't see that they're failing. They don't want to see that they're failing. And they never find salvation. But some wonder and don't want to be fail, and they cry out for answers. Answers are forthcoming from the good Lord when their cry is sincere. And the lady, she sees that she resents her husband because he's failing her, like all men. All men have failed her. Her father failed her. Her father wasn't there for her, most likely. She resented her father. She went out in the world looking for love, and instead of finding love, she found use and abuse. Okay? So all men are failings, and she can't help but see it. She cannot help but see men's failings and judge them for it. Then perhaps feel guilty for the judgment, then try to be nice to make up for it. But the nicer she is to the failing man, the more spoiled he becomes, the more like a big kid he becomes, the more advantage-taking he becomes, which causes her to resent him and judge him even all over again. Or more. You see how that cycle starts? She needs something from what she needs is agape love, a fatherly love, an emotionless love, where he loves her as a person, okay, not as a source of temptation. And he does, and instead of reacting to her temptation, see, before marriage, he went for her naughtiness. Okay, and then after marriage, when he finds himself and feels trapped, then he resents her. Okay, he resents her, which is another response, wrong response. Okay? So she resents him, she judges him, she feels guilty for that, she tries to be extra nice, okay? And somehow it's not working. Kids become spoiled sometimes, or they reject her brand of love. See, what she knows is mother love, and mother love is good for little tiny children. Need mother love when they're little babies, toddlers. But as they get older, then it's the father's job to gradually wean them from the mother's love, see, so they can become independent, okay, strong and independent. That's a father's job, but most fathers fail, okay. Um, so you see the dynamics. I'm just outlining here the some of the dynamics that occur in the family, and of course the kids see all of this happening. They resent their parents. They don't understand what's going on. They resent their dad especially, because he's failing them too, see, in some mysterious way. Well, what he needs is to love his wife as a person and not for her temptation. And as he gets older, he must become more fatherly. When they're young, they enjoy each other. They raise a family. They have kids and begin to raise a family. But as the years go by and he sees his failing, all men have failed, myself included. He sees his failing, and then he cries out for answers, and he begins to see what is needed of him, what is required of the man, who is the Moses of the family. So as he gets older, then he must become more noble, more courageous, more long-suffering, more patient, more kind. See, all of those beautiful virtues he must become honorable. He must have no vices, and he must have, because of his bond with his Creator. See, when he cries out for answers, then he finds out that he has been looking to her for support. See, men are woman-centered. In the Garden of Eden, Adam fell to temptation operating through the woman, and since she was the vehicle for the temptation, she is what he saw in that moment, in that shocking moment when he failed, when his life support was reversed from within to without, his allegiance changed from within to without. Okay, and then he became subject to the woman, and to the temptation, and to the spoken word. See, became subject to them, and dependent upon them for support, for reassurance, for what he had become. He'd become an earthy creature, from having been a spiritual being with a body, of course. But he fell from the spiritual to the sensual. Okay, and then as he deteriorated, he became more earthy. Okay, more animal, and he was required look to her to support the animal that he had become. Okay, and he required that of her to support and reinforce his animal, and to pretend that the animal is what manhood really is, that what love really is. And so she had to be pretentious, pretend. Okay, and she resented him. Undoubtedly, you've resented him. And so that's the lowly circumstance within that befalls the human race. But see, now your traumas are not original ones. That's what you were born into. You were born to failing parents, see, and failing authorities, into a world ruled by Satan, okay, and his henchmen and his dupes and those people and unaware people. See, people are not all wicked or evil. They're just unaware. See, they make mistakes. They don't know any better. They follow what everybody else says. But behind it all is the master puppeteer pulling the strings. And he makes life miserable for everyone. But the whole thing could turn around if the man could wake up and see that he's failing, and not resent seeing it, but just cry out for answers and then begin to change for the better. And if the lady, see, could learn not to resent her husband, okay, and if he's a decent guy, not perfect, he's failing, but he's halfway decent, then give him a little space, not resent him. See, maybe he'll find himself. Maybe he won't. Maybe he will. If he finds himself, then it's beautiful. Then they'll have heaven on earth. Okay? Live happily ever after. If he doesn't find himself, okay, and he remains the fallen creature, then she can still be okay, and she can find God within. She can find the love of the Father she has never known within by not resenting her husband or men. See how that works? Okay. So, but your traumas, as I began to say, are not original ones. You're born fallen. You can't help that. You're born with an animal nature. You're born with a propensity toward naughtiness. You're born to believing lies more than truth by compulsion. See, naughty people, liars, are more believable than truth speakers. Truth speakers make you feel bad. We don't like truth speakers, but the liars, well, they're easy to like. They're kind of charming, and we like their lies. We like them to tell us how wonderful we are, even though we know we're not. See? Okay, so that's the way you are. And so what must happen is for you and some lady, or you as a lady and some man, to hook up, get married, start and have kids, and then you will really begin to see your need for more than just a marriage manual, or being nice, or bringing flowers and candy, and things like that. More is needed. And if you search, then you'll begin to find the answers. Okay. A lot of people get my book. I have 2 books, well, actually 3 books on relationships. My most popular is called The Myths and Mysteries of Marriage. The Myths and Mysteries of Marriage. And it's very good. It outlines what I've just talked about, but in more detail. Okay? And the second book, Putting the Forever Back in Love. Very nice book also. Then I have a book about parenting. But now let's continue with our discussion of trauma. Okay? So I've outlined the situation that you're born into, and now you can see how the Garden of Eden applies. Okay? Now your traumas, whatever they are, see, if you're lucky, you grow up in a decent home, in a decent environment with protective parents, not overprotective, but protective, in a decent school. Hopefully, maybe they homeschool you, or you go to a private school, or see, somehow you're shielded from cruelty. So there's no cruelty, violence, no terrible things happening. Just decent home. Okay. Then you grow up to be a big ego. Okay. You grow from being a cute little ego to being a big naughty ego to being a big rotten ego. Okay. But at some point, but you see how that works. And then you go to school, you study, you go to work, you get married, then you do all those things. Okay. And then, as time passes, then you begin to work things out. That's the purpose of marriage. The purpose of marriage is not to have a good time and get your needs met, find self-fulfillment. The purpose of marriage is to bring children into the world, and to work out within the framework of holy matrimony, which is ordained by God, to work out the ancient man-woman thing, the enmity between men and women. Okay? You can work that out. That's what marriage is for. Okay? All right. If you grow up in a decent home, then you won't have many traumas, other than you're born as a creature of trauma, as I said. Okay, subject to wrong authorities. Okay, and with an ego, a nature of pride, which you also inherit. You inherit that nature of pride that wants to be admired, worshipped, respected. So we're egos. and we want to play God. And God is both a king and a judge. See, God is the great king of the universe, and he's also a judge. Okay? So when we play God, we want to be the king or queen and a judge. And so we want people to worship us and admire us and respect us. And when they don't, then we condemn them. We judge them and we condemn them. See? Play judge. Well, that's not good. That's a naughty game. Other people are the same, so everybody's going around pretentiously building egos up and knocking them down. Everybody hating everybody else and resenting everybody else and jealous of everybody else in a game of one-upmanship and all this kind of stuff. See, and it gets worse than that. Worse than that. Okay? But as I said, but some of us have had other traumas, unnatural traumas, unnecessary traumas. A cruel parent, a parent who rejected us. See, hatred in the home, mother hating father, father hating mother, violence, abuse, molestation. And then at school, gang pressure, peer pressure, drug pressure, sex pressure, ambition pressure. See, from the teachers and the coaches. Pressure, pressure, pressure. And different kinds of, all kinds of traumas. Being mugged and have your things stolen, and naughty cousins and brothers and sisters and naughty other people in the family doing awful things. See? So these are all traumas. And then the biggest traumas of all, okay, the biggest of all is the trauma of hate, of resentment. Resenting our father for failing us. Okay, resenting our mom for whatever reason, for being bossy, for being too much, okay, or for whatever reason. So even if we had perfect parents, we probably still would have resented them anyway, because we were born with a little prideful ego, and we would have resented them for not letting us have our way, okay? But our parents failed. Some of our parents were not so good. Some might have even been wicked or rotten, and so we resented them. Then we resented other people at school and so on. Resentment is a big trauma. Remember, I talked about that quite a bit in the earlier videos. So to some extent, we could say that it's not so, well, you hear this all the time, and it's true. It's not so much what happens to you, but how you react to it. Okay? So if you had never resented, see, your father's failing, what other people did or said, see, if you hadn't resented it and them, then you would have remained unscathed. You still could have been the Einstein, you know, not Moses, or the creature that you could, what you can become. What you can become is greater than Einstein. Not so much that you're going to come up with mathematical formulas, but I mean, you because of what Christ came and what he did on earth to reverse the curse, to reverse what happened in the Garden of Eden involving the food, the spoken word, disobedience, doubting God, see? And because of what he did there, see, and also by remaining true to the Father, always obeying the Father, always doing his Father's will, never disobeying the Father. He remained true all the way from beginning to end. And then those people who killed him and the devil tried to take him, and they were taking something to which they were not entitled. See, because he had not failed. And so therefore, because of that, Christ becomes the firstborn of a new race of people who God claims for himself and the devil cannot mess with, because they belong to Christ. See, and the devil broke the agreement. See, he forfeited legally. He forfeited his right to those people because of what Christ did, and because the devil tried to take Christ. See, so Christ reversed it all. Everything he did is just marvelous. And I don't have time to talk about any of that now, other than just lightly mention it. Okay? But now you see, so you had traumas, inherited traumas you added through resenting, mainly resenting. And then, of course, by not being, see, you yourself, like somebody once said, a very, very wise man once said that if it were you, okay, as Adam or Eve starting all over again, you probably would have done the same thing that Adam did. See? Because look now how sometimes you know in your heart what's right, but you don't do it, you doubt it. See, and you believe more what somebody else said, and afterwards you could kick yourself and say, what did I do that for? See, you go to buy something, you don't need it, you're spending too much money for it, but you buy it anyway because it excites you, it appeals to your ego, to your pride, to a sense of glamour or greatness or comfort or something, and you say, and make excuses, I deserve it, and so on. Then you get it, and then what? Then the next day, you look at it, it's not so great, you spend too much money for it, see? So you make the same mistakes. You go for the wrong guy, the wrong lady. Although it can work out. See, if you marry the wrong guy and the wrong lady, then you're basically marrying your temptation, which is good because now you're Adam and Eve all over again, and so now you have a chance to work it out. See, it says in the Bible that all things work for good for those who love the Lord. Okay? It can all work out. And every trial that you have, every betrayal, see, everything that befalls you, it can be used to build character. See, to build patience, calmness, graciousness, wisdom, honor. See, long suffering. Okay, so now you see that there are things that have to be reversed. Okay, because of your traumas. Okay, and because of your resentment. So what you need then is for God to enter your life. Okay, to bring light, to pierce your darkness. See, all these years you've been stumbling along. Nobody ever told you like I'm telling you. It's very unlikely. You may have heard of the Garden of Eden, you may have heard of trauma, you may have read psychology and so on, but nobody put it this way. Now you see. Now you see. Oh, I see. Now you see what is you're up against. Okay? So now you see the need for a change. Okay? And like I said, if you want to change now and you don't want to be full of hate anymore, resentment anymore, you're tired of misunderstandings, you don't want to contribute, you see your part in what has gone wrong, you see your part, which is resentment, anger, hostility, judgment, so on. Okay? But you also see that you can't help yourself. See, you didn't know any better. You sort of did a little bit, but not enough. You didn't know enough better. So now you can forgive others. You can forgive your parents, your poor old dad. See, when he was a little boy, nobody taught him properly. They were mean to him probably and cruel and pressured him. And your mom, no one ever loved your mom. See, and so they did the best they could. See, but it wasn't good enough. You resented them for it. But now you see that they couldn't help themselves. Okay, and chances are, even if they were cruel to you, they weren't being deliberately cruel. Something was driving them. Something was in them. Remember how I said the outside gets on the inside? See, when they were little and people were mean and cruel to them and they resented those people, then what was on the outside got inside of them. And then it in them turned around to do unto others what was done to them. You see what I mean? So it was pulling their strings. It had control of them. It wouldn't let them be kind. Wouldn't let them be sweet. See, they were blocked somehow. So now seeing that, now you can forgive them. In other words, let go of your resentment toward them. Your heart can soften. Okay? So have compassion on your poor old dad and your unloved mom. Okay? And everyone else. Okay? Let go of the hate. Let go of the anger. The grudges. See? Let them go. Make it unimportant. Whatever happened, make it unimportant. Okay? Now you can move forward. So this is part 3. Looks like I'm going to have to make a part 4 to bring in a few more aspects. But I will say right now, you've had enough. Okay? It's good to listen to what I have to say more, read my books and so on, but you have enough now to get the meditation. May I recommend you get the meditation? Begin to practice it. Okay? It'll help you. It'll help you to get a little closer to God, put some distance between you and that which entered, okay? The impressions, the memories, the reactions, okay? It came about through your error, okay? And I recommend you get the meditation and begin to use it. My name is Pastor Roland.